So you, instead of like having an RV or trailers, anything like that, you travel around in your van, and then that's where you stay during contracts and assignments.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Dylan Collier. I'm a physical therapist, and welcome to the New Medical Nomads podcast, where I get to document my journey as a medical traveler, as well as interview other experts within the traveling field. Now, the rules for the traveling game are constantly changing, so anything you hear on this show should be for entertainment purposes only. This is not legal, financial, or medical advice. Enjoy the show and safe travels.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the New Medical Nomads podcast. My name is Dylan Collier, and today I am with Miss Sarah Taggart. She is a Instagrammer, and that's how I initially reached out to her. Her handle is Tiny Van Big Living. She's also a blogger, and she is going to be one of the individuals that I interview that are using mobile homes as they go throughout their contracts, throughout their assignments. So Sarah, how are you doing tonight?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. So kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, what field you're in, how long you've been traveling, how long you've been practicing, and then kind of where you're headed from this point.
Sure. My name's Sarah, and I'm an occupational therapist. Been an OT for about 4 years since March. Well, I guess it's been a little bit longer than that, but I traveled right out of grad school, and after about 2 years, I did take almost a year and a half off to do a permanent job. But since then, I've been back traveling, and I plan to keep traveling till I get tired of it.
Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Sarah, can you tell the listeners who are not joining us on YouTube right now, where are you at?
I'm in Southeast Colorado currently.
Okay. And you are currently in your van.
Correct. I am in my van.
And so you, instead of like having an RV or trailers, anything like that, you travel around in your van, and then that's where you stay during contracts and assignments.
Yeah, correct. It's like a camper van, so it's a very tiny RV almost.
Okay.
I guess you could call it.
I did see photos of that on Instagram. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty big and spacious.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, all the blogs and stuff that Sarah does will be down in the show notes, and you can just go down there and check out if you're kind of curious to see how big this thing is. Mm-hmm. But how did you decide that this is what you wanted to do, was to travel around in the van?
Well, before I went back to traveling with my perm job, I was doing the typical like short-term housing, for each assignment, and it was just getting so ridiculously expensive that I felt like it financially almost wasn't worth it to travel. And then I had gotten like one or two kind of job cancellations before it started, and it just like totally kind of screwed me with housing. And luckily I was able to get out of it, but anyway, on the other hand of it too, I was living in LA and I had a permanent job, and I started to really look into like how much student loan debt I have. I was kind of like ignoring it before.
Yeah.
And then it just really started to kind of overwhelm me, and I kind of wanted to do something about it. And what I was going to say. Oh, I started watching HGTV, the tiny house big living. And I just got like super interested in it. At first, I was just interested in like how people made such small spaces, workable. And then I was like, hey, that's kind of a smart idea. And then at first I thought I would get a travel trailer, because I always knew what I wanted to go back into traveling. I just wanted to take a little bit of time off. And then I was saving money for a travel trailer because I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee that could pull it. But then, the more I looked into it, I realized it was going to cost me a lot of money to do that. And then the decision just kind of eventually evolved into a tiny camper van, and here I am.
That is so cool. What was the initial cost of getting into that? So you were kind of looking into things, and then you decided on the van.
Yeah. So this van, it's a 2010 Ford Transit Connect. I bought it. It was May 2013. So it was about $11,000, but I like sold my Jeep, so I didn't have to like pay extra money for this.
Okay.
And then the actual conversion itself is about under $5,000. So I guess ballpark be $16,000 for the
Okay.
whole van and the conversion.
Okay.
But it can go way up in more price than that for some van conversions, though. This is very minimal.
Okay. Very cool.
Mhm.
Did you know anybody before you decided to kind of do this with the van living, the van life? Did you know anybody else doing this?
No, not just what I would see on Instagram when I looked up the
Yeah.
hashtag van life. I didn't personally know anyone who was doing it, no.
I actually had a buddy of mine in college who kind of fell out from the job, decided to get a van and just traveled to Utah and picked up random jobs there. And I was so jealous of him for doing that. So I'm definitely envious of you for just, just the idea that is so cool and intimidating at the same time.
Yeah, kind of, but worth it, I think.
Yeah. And then you said you got the idea from HGTV. That's actually what we have on at the clinic. So usually if I'm just there by myself working, I'm not really an ESPN guy, so I'll just put that on the show, and I got all the patients watching it too. And yeah, it's an awesome show and really makes you think about things.
Yeah, it really does.
What is probably the most unexpected benefit that you got from your van life?
Just the freedom. Like, it's so nice not having to plan anything. I mean, even like when you're on assignment on the weekends, like I don't have to, if I want to go somewhere for, maybe like a few hours away, I don't have to like get a hotel room and stuff like that. I could just kind of go and figure it out. Same thing like in between assignments. Like I just drove down from Alaska. It took like, I think 3 weeks to do it. And, I didn't have to worry about hotels or like even my car's really good on gas. That's a big plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of the freedom and more of the not having to spend as much money on, I guess, like when you kind of feel guilty when you're in between assignments, you don't want to spend that much money, and I don't really have to. So that's nice. And I don't really know how to describe it, but it's very awesome feeling to have everything you need like in your car with you at all times, and you can just kind of go off whenever. Freedom.
Yeah. You mentioned good gas mileage. How many miles per the gallon do you get?
Oh, it gets about 28.
28. That's a lot better than I was anticipating. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's surprisingly small when you see it. It's probably like, it almost looks like a sedan with like a van in the back, or like a minivan with the higher back, I guess.
Okay. You mentioned going like in between assignments. You don't have to worry about finding a hotel. If you want to go somewhere like a city 2 hours away, you can just go. How hard is it to find a place to park your van to like sleep the night?
It's not that hard. Well, I'm not like a big city person, so I bet you if you went to more bigger cities, it'd be more difficult. But I'm usually going to like national parks and places like that.
Okay.
And you can park on any BLM land. You can park on any national forest as long as it doesn't say not to. And also it kind of looks like a regular car. So if I needed to, I could just pull over and sleep in it. No one would know. It just looks like a regular car parked on the street.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And I guess the same question for your contracts. If you get a place, how hard is it to find like, a park or somewhere close by that you can park it?
It's not that hard. I've kind of gotten creative. When I was in Alaska, there was a lot of like campgrounds. My first assignment in Alaska, there's a lot of campgrounds and like kind of Walmarts and a store called Fred Meyer's, which is like Target almost, that you could park overnight easily. And then when I went to Anchorage, Alaska, it was a little bit harder. So I just like put an ad on Craigslist and see if someone would let me park on their land for a few $100s a month. And someone said sure, and ended up being a great spot. And
Nice.
then in this job, it's very rural. And when I interviewed for the job, I was like concerned because there's no gym here, and that's how I shower, and there's
Got
like
it.
no campgrounds around. So they arranged for me to kind of sleep in it's like a little grassy area outside the hospital, and I used the hospital shower.
Got it. Got it.
So I never worried about it except when I interviewed for this job, and I looked online and I couldn't find any campgrounds or any gyms, so I just asked. So I guess it's a little risky to ask in an interview, but
I'm trying to imagine the conversation between the clinical person that you contacted, and they're trying to find you the living situation so you can be there.
Yeah,
Asking
I think
the hospital, like, hey, can she use the shower?
Yeah, pretty much. And like she even like she asked me about housing because it's such difficult to find housing in rural areas. Like she asked if I needed housing, and then that's kind of why I brought it up. And she's like, "Oh, we do have a shower here. No one's used it in years, but maybe we could clean it up for you." Like, sure, whatever.
Yes, please clean the shower.
Yeah.
I'll be there in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that was the most unexpected benefit. What was the most unexpected, maybe hardship that you found with doing the whole van life?
It was probably, when I decided to live in the van, especially for travel OT, I was like, okay, I'm only going to be in places that have mild weather, like kind of north, for the summer and south for the winter. And then I went up to Alaska for the summer, and then kind of some life stuff happened, and I ended up staying there for the winter.
Wow.
And I remember the first snowfall was in October, and I woke up and there was like snow outside, and it's just poorly equipped for the winter. Like I spent like so many hours researching like what kind of van build I want, and I ended up getting Reflectix insulation in my van because I can't stand being hot, and that's supposed to be the best one for the heat. So basically it's useless in the winter. And then I also have, my van has 4 doors. Well, yeah, it has 2 doors on each side, and a lot of them don't have doors on both sides, so that creates more cold to come in. Then I got into the point where it was so cold that it was just waking me up in the night because I couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah. Wow.
I tried the sleeping bag, I tried the hat, I tried a little heater. So I ended up renting a room just for those winter months in my contract. And that's kind of disappointing, but it's not worth like freezing
Right. Not being able
freezing to death. Yeah. And also Alaska, they don't really plow the roads that much. And I was doing home health. My actual van doesn't do that great in the snow. So I got stuck like so much. Like at one day my boss just drove me around to patients' houses because she had a Toyota 4Runner. Like twice I got stuck in someone's driveway, and people had to come dig me out. Like it was just Alaska winter didn't like my van too much.
Okay.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to avoid winter again, but now I'm going to be in Colorado until January. So I'm like, what am I doing? But it's if you do, end up traveling, people who travel, like it's so hard to plan anything because you make plans and then you just like end up doing something totally different. But the nice thing about my van, besides if it snows a lot, is it's so small and kind of easy to manipulate that like it can easily become a daily driver. Like if I need to, stay at a place during the winter months or whatever.
Right. Versus like an RV, or if you had a trailer.
Exactly.
Like okay.
Yeah, because I would have to find somewhere to put it, or just not take the job, and I would have less choices.
Right. Kind of limits you that way.
Yeah.
When you were doing just a normal winter, when it's kind of cooler nights, what are some of the things that you do to stay warm?
I do have like a nice sleeping bag. I have a Lasco. It's like a little personal heater. It's about this size, and I like plug it into my. I have solar panels, so I plug it into my inverter.
Very cool.
But I don't like to plug it in all night because I'm afraid I'm going to start a fire. So I don't, like once I get in my sleeping bag,
Uh-huh.
And if I put a hat on and stuff, I get pretty warm. It's just when I get up in the morning and like have to get ready for work.
Mhm.
So what I used to do is I would like pick out my clothes for the morning, and I would wake up and I put my clothes in front of the heater and then go back to sleep for 10 minutes, and then I wake up and my clothes are warm. Put them on.
I used to do that as a kid. Wake
Really?
up and you throw your hoodie in the dryer, and then right before you leave for school, you put it on. It's like, oh, it's so warm.
Yeah, basically the same thing. Oh, also a trick too is to if you like heat up water and put it in a like an Nalgene water bottle and put it at the bottom of your sleeping bag, it's kind of like a little heater in your sleep bag.
Ah, okay.
It's a good camping trick too.
Okay. Very cool.
Hmm.
So you have solar panels.
Correct.
Is that for convenience, or are you part of like the green life lifestyle, or a little bit of both?
Probably both. I just didn't want to have hookups, and I wanted to be able to like plug in my laptop,
Mhm.
plug in the heater, plug in the fan,
Okay.
stuff like that. But
Okay.
yeah, also because I want to be green and less wasteful.
So you were joining us here, me talking on your laptop. Do you have to worry
Mhm.
about like using too much out of the battery backup, or can you describe the solar
Uh,
panels?
yeah, you know what? It's 100 watts. It's a single 100 watts solar panel on the top, and then my inverter stores. Uh, I might have to look this up, but I think it's 1100 watts as well. I know the number is 1100, but I'm not sure if the number is the unit is
Okay.
watts. So anyway, so it collects, so it can store that much power. Um, my fan is 200 and my heater is 200. So that's how you can kind of judge if it can support, if the inverter can support the uh, your device.
Okay.
And I've never run out of power actually until this last week. I have my laptop plugged in all night, and I honestly don't know what my wattage on my laptop is. Um, but I think it's because my solar panels are really dirty and I haven't got up there and cleaned them.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like I've never, that's the only time I've ever run out of power. And like I don't want to show you because I have my computer perfectly set up, but if there's like green lights on it on the top, and if it's
Uh-huh.
running out of power, it will turn orange. And then
Okay.
when it's dead, it will turn red. But you don't have to do anything. You just have to wait till there's sunlight again to collect more power.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it depends what you want to hook up to it. Like mine's basically just my computer and some phone and some other things. So I've
Okay.
never really had a problem with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, so obviously no water hookups or anything like that if you're trying to use the solar panel.
Mm-mm.
You're using the shower at the hospital, or I'm assuming a 24-hour gym. What do you
Yeah.
do for like water and cooking and things like that?
For cooking, I have for my fridge, I have a Yetti Cooler.
Okay.
It's one of the more expensive coolers, but ice lasts about 5 days in it.
Okay.
Um, and then I have just like one of those double burner, kind of like Coleman propane stoves. I honestly don't cook that much. I never have even when I lived in an apartment. I just like don't like cooking that much. So a lot of times like I'll just like go to the grocery store or something, or
Okay.
sometimes I'll cook like pasta or ramen. When I had a campsite, I did cook more, but when I'm more stealthily camping, obviously I don't because I have to cook outside. And for water, I have like a 2.5 liter platypus, and I also have water bottles that I keep with me at work, and I basically just fill them up at work.
Okay.
And that pretty much sustains me. If I'm on the road, I fill them up. Like visitor center has usually free water, or gas stations, or I buy a bottled water. I don't like to buy bottled water, but if I have to, I will. And then I usually keep like a gallon of water, like kind of as an emergency.
Okay.
I keep it in there
Got
too.
it.
Yep.
Got it.
So it's basically like camping.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stoves. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Can you describe a normal like evening for yourself? So you get back, you're done with documentation. Do you chill in the van, or do you like go to a coffee shop, chill there? Kind of your
Um,
lifestyle, and then also the weekends.
yeah, so I'm in a really, really rural place right now. So um, it's not really that typical, but when I'm in a more I don't know, non-rural place, I do like to go to a coffee shop like Starbucks or something after work. I like to play on the internet. I blog, so I work on that. And I just got Wi-Fi on my phone, so before that was the only way I could get it.
Is that what they call a hotspot?
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say hotspot.
Okay.
I have a hotspot. I go to the gym so I can shower and work out. But yeah, and then I usually, come park and then hang out in my van until I go to sleep and then start all over again. But yeah, definitely hang out at coffee shops a lot and gyms, a library too, which is nice.
Okay.
It's kind of nice. It makes you be a little bit more part of the community.
Yeah, for sure. You can't just hermit in your room.
Exactly. You can't just lay down and sit all day.
Do you hike a lot on the weekends?
Oh, weekends, yeah. Yes, I do. I love hiking. I love camping. I love being outside. This is actually what kind of led me to believe that I could do something like this. Mm-hmm. Kind of in flatlands right now, but I really try to make an effort whenever I'm on a 13-week assignment to do something every weekend. Just to kind of make the most out of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think hiking is a big part of it, and I have a national park pass, so I'm trying to get my money's worth out of that. So trying to see how many parks this weekend. I'm going to the Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado.
Okay.
So just exploring hikes.
Can you talk about the national park pass a little bit? I'd recently heard about it, but I don't know that the details or like how much they are or anything like that.
It's $80 and it gets you an admission to any national park for 1 year from when you buy it.
Okay.
So got mine in June. So I think I almost got my money's worth. Some national parks don't charge you anything, but most are like $20. Like
got it.
Denali was $20. Yellowstone, Mount Rainier was about $20, and then Grand Tetons stuff. So like if you go to 4 parks that charge, that you get your money's worth. But basically, since I was driving down from Alaska, I figured should hit up some national parks, and that's why I got the pass.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think it's worth it if you're definitely going to go to at least 4 that charge you.
Yeah, it definitely sounds worth it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you describe kind of the social environment? So you're this new person coming in, you're a traveler, and usually you're like the new person, so you're the gossip, but you have a van and that's what you live out of. I'm assuming there's a lot of interest with that. And are people like asking to come see where you park, or do you guys hang out after work, or how does that usually work for you?
Yeah, so I'm surprised like how many people think it's cool, and 2, I'm surprised how many people like are willing to kind of help and make my life a little bit easier.
Okay.
But my very first travel job, I actually got the job because my friend Leah, she actually lives in an RV too, and she's a travel PT, but she was at the job and she got me the job in Alaska, and she told everyone that I lived in a van, or I was going to live in a van. Uh-huh. So when I got there, they're like, "Oh, you're the girl who lives in a car." Like, so they're asking all these questions. And then I've only done 3, like this is my 3rd assignment living in the van. So obviously the people here knew. But my second one, when I was in Anchorage doing home health, I was like kind of like worried to tell people. Uh-huh. I don't know why. I told the other traveling therapists that I became friends with, but then people, start asking like, where do you live and whatever, that I kind of just told people, and then they were a little bit older and kind of thought I was crazy. But people always say like, oh, come hang out. Like, I want to see your van. Come to my house. You can use my shower. You can do laundry. You can cook in our kitchen. You can park in my driveway if you want. But yeah, people always want to see it, and it's always a mess. So like, I always feel bad because I feel like they're expecting something like so, like awesome and like modular and sweet. Mine's just like kind of like a bed with like crap all over the place, like most of the time, because I'm messy. And and then like I've had a few people like stay with me, like go camping on the weekends and stuff. Uh-huh. And they just kind of think it's like a novelty and they think it's really fun. I think it's really awesome for camping,
Uh-huh.
but not like everyday life.
Right.
But to wrap up your question, I am like surprised about how genuinely interested people are and when I tell them kind of like the bigger reason, like to save money and pay off my
Yeah.
student loan debt, stuff like that, they're kind of like, oh, that's a really good idea. So yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. I'm so just fascinated with the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit more about the finances? So the financial reason is your primary motive of, doing this van versus taking the short-term housing. Since you have done short-term housing before, roughly how much are you saving per month?
Oh gosh. Okay, so let's see. I'd say the average short-term housing when I was traveling was like anywhere between $1,500 a month to like $2,800 a month. And then my van parking spots probably run me about like $500 a month. So probably saving at least $1,000. And then also since I don't have I had a car payment on my Jeep, I don't have that anymore. So like that was probably like $600 plus $1,500.
Okay.
Now I just have everything in one, my house and my car.
Right.
But yeah, it's saving me tons of money. And even, like I said before, like in between traveling too, like I used to like to take time off, but it would kind of give me anxiety because it cost me so much money.
Yeah.
To,
Okay.
like stay places and
Yeah, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
For sure. Do you have a goal? So, you have your student loans. Do you plan on doing the van life until the student loans are paid up, and then after that you're going to go to short-term housing, or is this something that you don't really see an end to per se?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I definitely want to do it until at least I make a very nice dent in my student loans and pay them off. But my goals would actually probably be to buy like a bigger van or like something that's more comfortable, I guess, that can be kind of just a regular house. I know personally that I don't really want a perm job for a really long time. So like that's not like a goal. It's not a goal of mine to be in one place.
Okay.
So I would still like to be mobile for, the next few years. I would definitely like to have a goal of paying off my student loans in about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
But this van is very tiny. So eventually I would either one kind of remodel this so it's a little bit more modular and more like practical, I guess, or comfortable, or maybe buy a bigger van.
Okay.
But yeah, so anyway, I don't really have any plans. So I'm just going along.
Plan is there's no plan.
Exactly.
How big is the van life community? Have you met other van lifers?
Yeah, I mean it's huge on like Instagram and stuff like that, and I've met my phone went off. I met like people on the road, and like people kind of give you like a peace sign or like wave, or like if you stop somewhere, like, oh, like that's your van, like can I see inside? And oh, you want to see mine? I mean, and usually like it's either young people like in their 20s like myself, or it's like kind of retired people who have like a really nice big ass like Sprinter van that's like probably $100,000,
Wow. Yeah.
But I would have to say everyone's like really friendly, everyone is nice, and everyone is kind of there to help each other and support each other. The biggest difference though is most people that you see like on Instagram and stuff like don't actually like go to work every day. And I feel like that's the biggest difference for me. Like I live in a van, but I also go to kind of a regular job, even though it's 13 weeks, like I'm still going to a building 8 hours a day. So that makes it a little different for me.
Absolutely. Got it. Got it. Who did you follow anyone before you got into this? Or I know you got a Yetti Cooler and you have the bladder and the solar panels. Are there any books or personalities or podcasts that you followed in order to get those ideas, or did they come from you?
Honestly, it just came for like, there's not like one particular person. There's a really good website called Evanuel that kind of has like a DIY fan conversion, but I didn't even do one that like I saw. I just kind of looked at, almost like, honestly, like I searched like the van life hashtag on Facebook, and then
Okay.
like for transit conversion, like I just looked, as many different conversions as I could, and then I just
Yeah.
kind of grabbed ideas from there. And like
Okay.
I read like product reviews on just general product reviews on coolers, like what's the best cooler,
Okay.
what's the best solar panel. So I wouldn't really say there was like, I couldn't even like think of one person to tell you that I followed, because I just kind of took as much information as I could,
Okay.
and then kind of made my own decision from there.
Okay. Got it. Are there any other books, personalities, or podcasts that you follow? Can be travel related, can be anything else that you're interested in.
Sure. I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot because I follow the debt snowball technique
Okay.
for paying off my debt. I like the Tim Ferriss show,
Yeah.
and anything with Cheryl Strayed, like interviews, or I love all her books. Inspired by her. And then a
What's
little
some
bit,
of her favorite works that you like?
probably Wild.
Okay. Okay.
And then I don't know, have you listened to S-Town?
I have not.
Okay, if you're going for a really long drive, like I don't know, to Alaska, it's part of NPR, but it's like a story about this guy in a rural town in Alabama who calls the producer of the NPR show Serial and tells him that like there's like all this corruption in his town and stuff like that. So he ends up like meeting him, and there's all these twists and turns, but it's a true story. But it's like 8 parts or 11 parts or something. But like,
wow.
It's so interesting. I listened to it 12 hours in a row. But like a lot of stuff from NPR too. I like how this was built and Serial and anything. I really like podcasts, so.
Okay. Same. The Tim Ferriss show was one of the very first podcasts I'd ever like actually tuned into. The 4-Hour Work Week, that book kind of like changed my idea of like productivity and just trying to, use that 80-20 principle of getting 80% of your work done in like 20% of the time, or however you want to flip that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do in our profession though, like to be an actual standard PT or OT, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a mess. But yeah, I just like, he interviews like successful people and stuff, and just like their life habits. So
for sure. Have you read any of his books?
I haven't, no.
Okay. You might like Tools of Titans. It's basically his big takeaways from like some of the bigger interviews that he did.
Have you read it?
I actually don't know if I have it behind me right now. I don't think I do. I think it's in my car, but it's a fairly thick book, so it's not like anything small. But there's like finance. I think he breaks it up into sections. I think it's like health and fitness, finances, and then like business or something like that.
Okay.
Personal growth.
Yeah.
But definitely, and they're short reads, like 1 or 2 pages, so you can easily do it as a nightcap.
Yeah, maybe I should get it on an audiobook or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Do you have a favorite story, either from the van life or just from traveling in general?
Favorite? I have one about picking up a hitchhiker, but I don't know if I want this on. So I'm gonna leave that one.
Okay.
People might be mad at me, but I did probably my best trip was when I finished my first assignment in Alaska in the van life, and like I was really concerned that I wasn't gonna like van life, and I didn't really know how I would do it, but I ended up loving it. And I my friend now boyfriend visited me in Alaska, and we did like a week long road trip, and then it was October, and we drove up to Fairbanks in the van, and we saw like the greatest view of Denali, and then Northern Lights like I've never seen in Fairbanks. Like 2 nights. Like usually I saw them a few times when I was living and I was living in like Kenai in Alaska, and like you would kind of have to like look north to see them, and I only saw them once. But like in Fairbanks, like I was just like looking up, and they were just all around you.
Wow.
And like it was just like nuts. So like I kind of have went to Alaska on a whim, and like that moment made me so happy that I decided to go, 'cause it's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing, and something that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't a travel OT. I probably wouldn't have ever gone to Alaska.
Right. Almost like, I don't know, I find it so hard personally just to be present in the moment. So whether or not I'm thinking about future stuff, I'm trying to get, prepared, or, past stuff, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that one thing in second grade to that teacher. Like, of course, I'm thinking about that at like 2 a.m. in the morning. But one of those moments where you're just like so present and so just grounded.
Like impressed.
That sounds, I'm sorry.
I was going to say just totally impressed by nature.
Yes. Yes. I've heard Alaska is one of those places you visit and it just feels like you're on a different planet.
Yeah, it really does. A different country, you should go if you get a chance.
It's on my list. All the Alaskan viewers are like, what? No, this is normal life. Y'all live on a different planet.
Exactly. The lower 48.
So kind of feeding off of that, you were very nervous about jumping in. What would you tell someone who's considering about doing van life and medical traveling?
Wait, about van life and medical traveling?
So what would you tell a person who's a medical traveler that's on the fence of becoming a van lifer?
I would say I would probably, if I could go back now, there wasn't really this option when I was looking to, or at least I couldn't find it, but there's vans and campers that you could rent. I probably would do that for an assignment first. Maybe to see if you like it, or even for a few weeks to see if you like it.
Okay.
But also you really have to be okay with not having a very convenient life. I have to plan showers, I have to plan meals. I can't just kind of do things on a whim, which is kind of challenging, but I think it's worth it. But on the other side, you could get a really nice van, which is basically a house too, but I just chose not to. So you kind of just have to weigh, if you go all out and go for, a lot of convenience, then you're going to spend twice as much. So it might not even be worth it. So you really have to decide what's important to you. Is it important to you to save money? Is it important to you, just to have a really nice, comfortable van or a nice, comfortable trailer? Then, it probably would cost you as much as, short-term housing anyway. So you probably still save money, but you don't have to move, which is a plus.
Right.
But yeah, I just decide, and I would try it out first if you could. There's so many rental places right now that people rent their vans and campers and stuff. Why not just try it out and see if you like it? Awesome
advice. That's all the questions that I had. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell the listeners?
Man, I didn't know you were going to ask this. I think living more minimally has really changed my life. When I first started traveling, I had so much crap with me. If you start traveling anyway, you'll quickly learn that when you hate moving, so you'll want less and less stuff. But having less stuff really makes you more free, and I would spend more time on experiences and then less time and money on things. And just go for it, whatever you might want to do. Live small, live big, whatever. And if you want to know more information, you should read my blog, tinyvanbigliving.com.
Awesome. So yeah, I'll be sure to put that in the show notes along with your Instagram. You have a lot of cool pictures on there of your van and of you, and it's just really inspiring.
Thanks.
And then I'll also be adding you to the Facebook group, New Medical Nomads.
Okay.
If the listeners have any questions for you about van life or travel OT, anything like that, just tag Sarah in a question in that group, and you can, it's a closed group, so it's kind of protected. So you have to ask to join, but I'll go ahead and add anyone as long as it doesn't seem like you're from a different country and have no friends and, have really weird Pikachu pictures or something like that. And then if you're looking for the next episodes coming up, check out the New Medical Nomads Facebook page. And then also if you want to, get the early releases of these before I officially launch. So they are usually up on YouTube first. So just go to the YouTube channel where this video is at, and then you can find them earlier and watch them there. But thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing with us your experiences in your life and the van. Oh, that's just so awesome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. And you have safe travels.
All right, thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye.